Oklahoma State and Texas meet for the Big 12 championship, and it's a game featuring two teams that one is surprising, the other one expected to be here, though had a letdown earlier. We're wondering about the legitimacy of Texas's playoff run. We're also wondering about the legitimacy of Oklahoma State as a Big 12 contender. Some people believe that they don't belong, but they have proven against the teams that they needed to beat that they belong in this game. And Oklahoma State's really fun because you get to watch Ollie Gordon. Ollie Gordon is one of the more entertaining running backs in college football. And if you've not watched him this year, you are missing out. He is a hard runner, a very physical runner, someone who we saw last year. If you watched his film, you know that he was capable of having a breakout year. And I think Oklahoma State's been fine with feeding him as much as possible. Now, at the beginning of the year, we didn't see him as much, but this is an Oklahoma State team that found a way to bounce back. They are not an elite defensive team, but they have found ways to win football games and they have found ways to win tough football games. The Oklahoma game about a month ago was the biggest game on their schedule, and they had a couple of those before, but it wasn't looking pretty early and they figured it out late. Now, when you look at their schedule, the loss to South Alabama obviously stands out the most because when you look at this team, losing to a 6-6 South Alabama team is not ideal. Now, at the time, we thought South Alabama was going to be much better. And that goes into that argument of is this the same team that we saw at the beginning of the year? And I think when you look at both South Alabama and Oklahoma State, the answer to that question is this the same team as we saw at the beginning of the year is no. And that's part of when we talk about the college football playoff that I think you need to realize is these aren't the same teams. These are not the same teams playing with the same level of confidence because I can guarantee you that South Alabama right now is not playing with the same confidence that they were after they beat Oklahoma State. And I can guarantee you that Oklahoma State is playing with a ton more confidence than they were against South Alabama. Now, is that enough to beat a team like Texas? I don't know. But I think that you're looking at a team that is playing a lot differently than they were at the beginning of it. They started the year 2-2. They are now 7-1 in their last 8 games. The loss to UCF obviously was a hiccup in the road, and it wasn't pretty, but you still found a way to get to the Big 12 championship game, and you have an opportunity to pull off an upset. So, will that happen? We'll see, but there are definitely some players that play a role in that. I think the biggest X factor has to be Alan Bowman in the passing attack. So, a guy like Brennan Presley will play a huge role here. I think he's a good slot receiver that you can get involved early. And we saw that against Oklahoma. You look at the number of games that he's played. He's a veteran with a lot of snaps under his belt, and he knows what it takes to win big football games. So getting him the ball, I think, will be a huge way for Oklahoma State to get up early or at least stay competitive against Texas. Another way is getting Ollie Gordon involved early because Texas front seven is going to challenge you. They're going to push you and try to see if you're capable of being more physical than them. If you're going to be more talented, which they're not, then you have to be more physical. You have to be able to win at the point of attack. You have to get Ollie Gordon involved, and you have to find ways to complement it as well with the passing game. So a lot of pressure goes on Alan Bowman because we know Texas is going to try to take away Ollie Gordon. Another thing is getting after Texas's offense. So guys like Colin Oliver in that defense play a huge role too. Because if you're going to give Texas plenty of time to throw, plenty of time for their playmakers to operate in space, it's gonna be a long day. Now, Colin Oliver is still learning his new position. I would say at this point he's pretty much knows what he needs to do, but I think finding ways to get him in the backfield to be disruptive will be huge for Oklahoma State because again, you are not going to win a shootout with Texas. There's a very slim chance that that happens, and the defense needs to be disruptive, and the offense needs to solidify its identity by running the football and complementing that with the pass. Now, up until this past weekend, Texas really didn't look like a team on a mission to get back to the playoff. The win against Alabama was fun, but after that, there weren't too many games outside of the Kansas win and then last week where you thought, wow, this team is electric. This team is has its sights set on a college football playoff appearance. That was just not the case. They were not dominating anyone. They have the loss to Oklahoma. That's still obviously very disappointing. So there's still little work for them to do. This is still a team that has something to prove. They've beaten certain teams that are, like I said, impressive. Beating a team like Kansas, the way they did, was an impressive win. That was a long time ago. They also followed that up with a loss to Oklahoma. Beating Kansas State is a good win, but the way that they did it was concerning. You were going up big, and then you essentially let Kansas State back in the game. That's my concern with Texas, not necessarily in this game. It could be a concern, but I'm looking more college football playoff. If you were playing against teams, especially if you face Alabama again, because Alabama is a very different team than you faced at the beginning of the year. And if you are not playing hungry and passionate and driven, Alabama will wipe the floor with you. And the same thing with any of those teams in the playoff. A team like Michigan or Georgia isn't going to give you time to figure things out. Or if you do jump ahead, they are going to keep coming after you. They are going to keep pushing and trying to get back in the game. And Oklahoma State has an opportunity to showcase what a team can do coming back on Texas. But I think the Longhorns, after last week, they've shown at least a glimpse of we can dominate our opponent and we can do a lot of damage through the air and on the ground. Even when you don't have Jonathan Brooks, a guy like Jalen Blue can step up in a big way. A guy like Xavier Worthy in the passing attack, Donnie Mitchell, Jatavian Sanders, Jordan Whittington. They have a number of players that can step up. The talent isn't the problem. It's never been the problem with Texas. It will never be the problem with Texas. It's a matter of translating that to the field, getting Quinn Ewers involved and getting him time to throw and getting this skill talent involved early. I think that's one of the biggest things that they can do. And then getting this defense to, in this game, slow down a rushing attack at Oklahoma State. Because if you slow down Ollie Gordon, I don't have too many concerns that Alan Bowman is going to beat you. Alan Bowman is not a quarterback designed to straight up beat a team like Texas. If you're taking away the rushing attack for Oklahoma State, then I think Texas will be just fine. Picking this game to me is relatively easy. Texas is a team that is, in terms of talent, the more talented team. They should win this game. They should put themselves in a good position to be in the college football playoff. Now, obviously, the loss to Oklahoma really hurts if they don't make it in, but they are at least putting themselves in position to get into the playoff. And then from there, who knows what happens.